Yeah, there were a few jokes made that were incredibly inappropriate. One specifically pertaining to black women.
Yep.
And in the clip, Andrew was making a joke. I'm not even going to get into specifics. Making a frankly racist joke.
Yeah.
And we were laughing at it. And to give there's first of all, before we get into like specifics or anything like that, obviously there's just literally no excuse. There is no excuse.
Agreed.
All right, we get it. So here's the thing. Listen, I do have empathy for what they're going through. They're young into this content game.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what happens with a lot of people who are like funny on the internet, but they're not comedians.
Yeah.
So they are still concerned about cancellation.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My good name is Gracey D, your African diva. I hope you guys are doing well. So on today's episode, like if you've watched the previous episode, you'll get to understand what we're talking about on this episode. If you haven't, kindly go back and watch the episode. If you're watching me and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, kindly subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and let me hear your thoughts on the comment section. So this week, Andrew, Schulz and Fuhad and James have been trending. Like you go to any platform on social media and they've been trending. And yesterday I did an episode of this, and today's episode I said we're gonna pause and see what they said on their apology. So let's watch the whole of these videos, clips that I have together, and then we'll come back to it.
You know, if you don't, that's fine. But we just wanted to address something that's happening at the minute.
Yep.
This past weekend, there's been a couple of clips going around from when we did a session on the Flagrant podcast while we were on our US tour. And yeah, there were a few jokes made that were incredibly inappropriate. One specifically pertaining to black women.
Yep.
And in the clip, Andrew was making a joke. I'm not even going to get into specifics. Making a frankly racist joke.
Yeah.
And we were laughing at it. And to give there's first of all, before we get into like specifics or anything like that, obviously there's just literally no excuse. There is no excuse.
Agreed.
And fight or flight is a real thing. Like it is, yeah. Fight or flight is a real thing, and it's so not easy to say, but when you're in those situations, you look at it through a lens of like, bro, if it was me, I promise you I'll stand up, I'll kick them cameras down, I would smack homeboy in the face, I would say this, I'll do that. But when you're in there, you're in shock.
You're in shock, and all you want to do is move on.
Yeah, bro, move on is the fucking word, bro. All you want to do is fucking move on. Just move on to the next thing. Just move on to the next thing.
There's so
and like
many
we had
times.
to say a few times, bro, just move on. Just move on.
So many different topics. We were like, move on.
Yeah.
And it's not even like about pity laughs or anything, but we just wanted to
get out of that situation.
Literally get out of that situation, keep the ball rolling. And we thought it was going to be more of like a bros chat, but it ended up being something that's ended up being
something that's like really, really hurt people that look to us for support and look to us to feel protected. And protected is the main thing that I wanted to discuss, is that it is our duty to protect you guys.
Facts.
And it is definitely not cool to be in that situation. And again, not be the ones to stand up and kick the cameras down. And we fucked it on that occasion.
We did.
It's not going to happen again. And it's about being human. It's about realizing that you don't know what you're prepared for. You don't know how to prepare for something
you don't know
that you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And once it's happened one time, you're like, fuck, all right.
You learn from your mistakes, and that's literally learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, we fucked it, and we're sorry.
We definitely do apologize.
It's, for me, like, it's one of them ones where you don't realize that, like, for one, when you're part of a community, you don't realize that you can hurt your own community.
Especially
when you're not, when unintentionally.
Unintentionally, for real.
And also on top of that, it was so crazy that like the narrative that's been spun about how we feel about our community, the irony of the fact that whilst the whole reason we're in that country was to just show how much we love our community and show how much we love our supporters and how much time we spent at the shows and just like getting to know people and just like understanding our community better and just like making friends and making bonds and showing love, and they're showing love. And this whole 6-week trip was just about showing how much we love our community and how much our community show out for us. And then to have that exact same trip be the reason that we're having to have this conversation now. But at the end of the day, mistakes make you a better person.
Mistakes do make you a better person.
You're not born a perfect person. And yeah, we don't condone, we don't appease that behavior, we don't rate it. And we don't want you guys to think that we were sat in that room rating what's going on.
We hold our hands up, we apologize, you learn from your mistakes, and we hope we don't let our community down again, because ultimately we do this for you guys. Like,
yeah, you guys are all we have, man.
You guys are literally all we have. You guys have taken us to this level, and we don't want to let you guys down going forward and anymore. So, you know.
Yeah, but anyway, on to regular viewership.
Yes, sir.
You're not born a perfect person. And yeah, we don't condone, we don't appease that behavior. We don't.
All right. We get it. So here's the thing. Listen, I do have empathy for what they're going through. They're young into this content game.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what happens with a lot of people who are like funny on the internet, but they're not comedians.
Yeah.
So they are still concerned about cancellation. I think comedians, we understand that being funny is saying inappropriate things.
Yeah.
Sometimes that thing that's inappropriate is something about you. Sometimes it's about other people. But the nature of being funny is something inappropriate happening.
Yeah.
Right? And I think what they're doing, what they don't realize is, because they're young in the game, and we've all went through this. It's like scary in the beginning. You really think you're going to be canceled. You're worried. I'm sure that they have, people that they have to take care of, and they're like, oh, what if I have to go back and I have to get a regular job? Is it all over? I completely have empathy for that. I get that. What they don't realize is by apologizing, you're just amplifying it.
Yeah.
The people that are upset at this, the majority of them don't even listen to the podcast. A lot of them are probably resentful of your success. And they're like, why the fuck should these guys make all this money? And they're just like reacting to stupid videos on the internet and like telling stories.
They're just friends. I'm just friends.
Yeah, I'm just friends. Why can't I have millions of dollars like they have? So but they don't realize that. They really think it's their community. Your community still loves you. Your community still knows you. And if you actually have a community, like you say, which I do believe you do, they're not going to immediately throw you away because of one clip where you're laughing at a clear fucking joke.
I was at the live show. They're not going anywhere. Your fans fucking love you.
You said the live show was amazing.
It was amazing. And your fans fucking love you. They're not going anywhere.
But what you have done, and this is hopefully the learning moment, is that you have empowered those people that are trying to cancel you. Remember, the people trying to cancel you get off on you being canceled. You having to come out and apologize and bend to their whim and change the disposition of who you are. And it is a change, right? Because you had the ability to edit it out. You chose not to edit it out. Didn't mean anything to that. You only want to edit it, or you only want to talk about it now because of the negative reaction. If nobody reacted to it, you wouldn't go back and be like, we feel horrible and we have to protect our community and all this other bullshit you're saying. The learning lesson here is you do not apologize, because you're just going to empower these people who aren't even part of your community in the first place. You guys have built something with people who actually know you and care about you, and one thing that happens could never sway them. Especially on a podcast where you're joking around. Like, it's ridiculous. That's a learning lesson.
And I think also when you're first going through that, you think about, oh, we have black female fans. I appreciate them so much. They must be so hurt by this. They're not hurt by this. You don't realize that. You start feeling empathy for people that don't feel bad, that weren't hurt. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, you're thinking about all the black girls you see at the live shows, blah, blah. Oh, those girls are probably so heartbroken. They think no, they don't. They know who you are.
Those girls know who you are. They know you're joking. Go out.
So I agree with everything you said, but I think in their situation, I don't necessarily feel like they shouldn't apologize, because their fan base is different. You guys are comedians. You cultivated a fan base that are used to edgy jokes. So their fans tuned into the show and heard them talk or laugh about jokes in a way that they've never done before. And so their fans can be disappointed. So it's like, I don't think it's wrong to necessarily apologize in that.
Let's actually talk about that apology video, okay? Yesterday, I made a video and posted it right after I'd watched the apology video. And I'm not going to lie, guys, they got me. They actually got me, like, a little bit. But I've slept on it, I've woken up, and I was thinking, hang on a minute. There are quite a few fundamental things that went wrong in that apology video. And I watched it again this morning. I was just thinking, yeah, no. First of all, why was the video attached to an entire podcast episode? Let me even set up for this. It's giving my apology video is going to be monetized. It's going to make money. The podcast, people will watch it. Maybe more people will see it. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but the fact that that was not a standalone apology video that was not monetized was a terrible idea. Terrible. Also, the the fact that obviously I know that this has become an issue more recently. Like, I know the video was filmed maybe back in July. I don't know when it was posted, but the fact that it was posted not just yesterday, but at the end of the day, this apology has only just come about because everyone's been complaining. It's not giving sincere. Like, oh, you guys are so right. It's just not giving sincere. Lastly, and I saw this, Jessie Woo was talking about this one, how they kept saying our community, our community. Please just address the fact that you have seriously offended Black women, not just the community, my community. No, it's not that. It's Black women. Black women have been seriously hurt by what's happened. So yeah, I don't know. I'm low-key taking it back because I've slept on this and I'm just like, okay, yeah, there's so many things that were wrong with that apology video. I'm not happy with it. I'm most irritated at the fact that they knew that was going to get views and they've attached it to a podcast. So James and Fuhad, please, I'm going to need y'all to do better next time, okay? And let this really be something that just doesn't happen again, please. Because we liked you guys, seriously.
Well, there you have it, people. James and Fuhad apologised and it's still not enough. That's why you don't apologise on the internet. I saw their apology video and it was exactly the same thing that I was saying. They were out of their depth. They got outsmarted by Andrew. And that's just what it was. And, you know, they kept repeating and saying, like, let's move on, this, that, and the third. And Andrew didn't. They tried to run with the big dogs and they realised that they needed to walk before they could run. But I'm glad that James and Fuhad, you know, learned this lesson real quick. And it's that, you know, audiences are very fickle. And if you do something wrong, you will be crucified. And a giggle cost you your money. I was looking at the comments in their apology thing and there's a load of Black women that are just like, it's not enough. It's not enough. And I'm thinking, do you guys not fucking support Chris Brown and other Black men that have done way worse? But I digress. There was even one woman that was like, oh, I unsubscribed and I'm not going to subscribe again. But you know what? I will subscribe and I will subscribe again because I forgive you guys. It was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? All I'm saying is, James and Fuhad, you can't ride the fence anymore. You have to stand up in it. And this is what happens when you ride the fence, unfortunately. I want to say is big ups to you guys. I don't necessarily watch your podcast, but I don't feel like you're bad guys. So live and let live. Live and let live. Also, I want to just ask, now that we've wrapped up James and Fuhad and put them in a pretty little bow, are we doing the same for Andrew? Why not? Oh, because he doesn't give a shit. Got it.
So Andrew Schulz has just done a reaction video reacting to James and Fuhad's apology video. I already knew I was going to be irritated when I started watching it because he is just a troll. Like, he's just a real life troll. People want to be saying, oh, he's a comedian and whatnot, but what they said in their apology video was right. It definitely 100% was racist comments. Besides that, obviously, Andrew Schulz would feel as though he's been sort of thrown under the bus by James and Fuhad. So he had to come back with something. And honestly, I'm just tired because at this point, I didn't even know who he was before this. So the fact that we're even talking about this man is irritating me to begin with, but I digress. He then decides that he's obviously going to throw James and Fuhad under the bus as well. He basically says, do you know what's so funny? That their producers and them had loads of bits that they wanted to take out of the podcast episode, but do you know what they didn't ask to be taken out? And apparently, here we are. They have asked for bits to be taken out and the whole section that everyone's enraged about wasn't asked to be removed. They watched that, they sat there, and it wasn't asked to be removed. Obviously, Andrew Schulz, I'm hoping that, you know, he's getting as much energy as James and Fuhad because yes, it should be that way. But James and Fuhad also were obviously fine, not necessarily fine with what he said, but they didn't feel that uncomfortable that they asked for it to be removed and other things were removed. Like, they didn't ask. I feel like that's our answer. Like, that says it all, really.
So for most who actually watched my last episode about this whole saga, so Andrew Schulz is like, he's a comedian, he's an actor, and actually like I went on Wikipedia to look at this guy, and you know the funny part is about you know when they're saying about his genre of comedy is observation comedy, sketchy comedy, black comedy, insult comedy, surreal humor, and satire. The black comedian, I'm like, yeah, I've seen like that mostly actually pops up on my feed on any platform that I go to. And you know, back in 2020, actually, he released the Child Saves America, and you know, people went online and they were, you know, back at this time he had like recently broken up with his girlfriend, and people were like tagging this lady on the comments. They were like going to her page, and you know, there was a lot going on, like people were tagging her, and she went on ahead and posted, and she made a post and said her name is it's Sarah Phillips. You know, she like wrote a lot, but this is actually like, as I was looking online, this is what she wrote, like people should stop tagging her on this guy's post, and like they should stop coming to her comment and dragging her into his business and all that. And actually the funny part is that this lady, she's a mixed woman, and she went on ahead and wrote on her Instagram. This is just one of the part that caught my attention from the whole thread. For years, I was manipulated, controlled, and abused by him. The verbal abuse was constant. I was isolated from my friends. If I wore makeup that he thought was too much, he would wipe it off my face in public. He would force me to change before leaving the house if if he thought my outfit would get too much attention. Once, after being sick for weeks without explanation, I found out he had been using my toothbrush to clean the bottom of his shoes. To this day, I can't make sense of that kind of sickness. Honestly, I also can't, because why would someone do that to you? Like, yeah, so guys, that's Andrew, for the who didn't know, or you know, that's the little much I know about this guy. So let's come back to like, why was Andrew surprised like about this guy doing an apology? I mean, like, I guess to him he was confused by the apology, because when they were doing the videos, as he like said, they had an option of them removing some parts, and they never gave them a go ahead to remove that specific part, you know, because they were all laughing together, and all of a sudden they're giving an apology and coming now accepting that what Andrew said, it was a racist joke. And you know, that's why he was like, you know, he reacted on this video, and I think to him it also caught him by surprise. And you know, this is something that mostly happen. Like, let's me give you an example and you'll understand what I mean. Like, now here where I'm from, when we're going to, like, we decide to go for a night out, like night clubbing, you find like most guys that drive, the ones that are going to pay for our bills, buy the food and all that. Like, let's say you're going out in a group, there are guys who are driving, and you find these guys that are not driving, and these guys that cannot afford to buy the expensive drinks, they always act like servants to these guys that can pay, you know, that are in a position to pay for that money. So in this situation, I felt like, you know, as James and Fuhad, they were saying, they kept on saying, let's move on, let's move on, let's move on. And when he was touching on topics that they were not comfortable to talk about, maybe it got to a point, maybe they had said, let's move on so many times, and they just were like you know, this guy, he's gonna help us gain the US audience and all that, in as much as they already have the US audience. And they kind of like, there's this situation of, I don't know, men feeling intimidated by men who are upper than them to a point, or who are like doing way better than them to a point that they cannot stand up for themselves, which is quite sad. Like, you know, you see like that mentally of an average man not standing up for themselves because they want to seek male validation from the other part or from the other group. And you know, it's quite sad. Like, men, we can do better. Men, like, I believe that if a person have gotten to that point where they are, you also, in as much as long as you put in the work and all that's needed for you, you can get to that point. You don't have to seek for any male validation from anyone, because I mean, we are all equal, and this is a mentality that we all have to fight. Like, especially our black men, like, we don't need validation from anyone. You don't need validation from anyone. You are enough and you're good. So tell me what you think on the comment section, guys. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and until the next episode, bye.